You hit a wall. It happens every time. A point in any sustained effort where everything in you says stop. Your thinking slows, your motivation collapses, the task ahead seems impossibly large, and rest feels like the only reasonable option. Most people stop there. They call it their limit. William James spent years studying what happens if you don't stop, and what he found was extraordinary. James was one of the first psychologists to seriously investigate the phenomenon of mental fatigue and what lies beyond it. In a lecture he called The Energies of Men, delivered in 1906, he laid out observations that anticipated modern performance psychology by a century. His central claim was startling. Human beings habitually stop at the first layer of fatigue and never discover the deeper reservoirs of energy that lie beneath it. Every athlete knows what James called the second wind, the moment when, past the initial misery of effort, something shifts and energy mysteriously returns. Runners experience it. Climbers experience it. Riders who push through the first painful hour of work and then find themselves absorbed for 3 more hours have experienced it. James's insight was that this phenomenon is not limited to physical exertion. The same architecture of layered reserves exists in mental work, emotional labor, and the effort of will. What creates the wall that most people stop at? James was careful here. He acknowledged that genuine physiological fatigue is real. Muscles deplete glycogen, neurons consume glucose, the body has actual limits. But he argued that the first wall of fatigue we hit in most circumstances is largely psychological. It is not a signal that we have reached our physical or mental limit. It is a warning signal, one that evolved to make us conservative with energy, but one that drastically underestimates our actual capacity. The evidence he marshaled was compelling. He pointed to the phenomenon of emergency energy, the way a person who claims to be utterly exhausted will find reserves of remarkable strength and clarity when a genuine crisis demands it. A parent who is running on empty will respond to a child's emergency with full alertness and physical capability. A writer who cannot find another word will, if their house catches fire, prove capable of grabbing everything that matters with remarkable efficiency. The exhaustion was real, but it was not their limit. James also noted the role of motivation in what he called the dynamic of the will. The same amount of work feels enormously different depending on whether it aligns with something the person cares deeply about. A researcher passionate about their question can work 12 hours and feel exhilarated. The same person doing bureaucratic work for 2 hours feels destroyed. The difference is not merely cognitive or emotional. It has real physiological correlates. Meaning and purpose literally change what the body does with available energy. Modern sports psychology and performance research have confirmed James's framework with precision. Athletes train deliberately in a zone called overreaching, pushing past the first wall of fatigue, because adaptation happens in that space beyond comfort. Psychologists studying mental performance have found that people's perception of their own fatigue is strongly influenced by expectation, motivation, and emotion, and often dramatically underestimates actual capacity. When subjects are told the task will end soon, they perform better even if it doesn't end soon. When subjects are working on something they find meaningful, they persist far longer before reaching actual neurological depletion. The practical implications are significant. James suggested that most people live in a perpetual state of what we might call shallow energy use, never pushing past the first wall, never discovering the second and third layers of capacity that lie beneath it. He called this one of the great wastes of human life. Not from a moralistic perspective, he was not demanding that people work themselves to death, but from a psychological one. Most people never discover what they are actually capable of because they have been trained, by comfort and habit and false signals of fatigue, to stop far too soon. How do you access the second wind? James identified several reliable pathways. A renewed sense of purpose or urgency will often dissolve the wall immediately, which is why deadlines, accountability partners, and genuine stakes change performance so dramatically. A shift in context, moving to a different environment, changing the task slightly, taking a brief but genuine break, can reset the perception of fatigue and allow re-engagement. And deliberate practice of pushing through the first wall, in low-stakes training contexts, builds the psychological knowledge that the wall is not the end. James also believed that the habit of stopping at the first wall, once formed, becomes self-reinforcing. Each time you stop there, you confirm the belief that it is your limit. Each time you push through it, you expand your conception of your own capacity. This is as true for creative work as for athletic performance, as true for learning as for physical endurance. You have more in you than you think. James was certain of this. The question is whether you are willing to find out. Subscribe to the Psychology of William James for more insights from the father of American psychology. New videos every week.